Hey, great news. I'm off on another beer adventure. I'm on my way back to San Antonio to interview Chris at Breakaway Brewing. They've only been open for about 2 years, so we're going to find out about them together. They're new to the beer scene down there. But real quick, real fast, I just want to mention our sponsor, Louisville SEO Strategies and San Antonio SEO Strategies. Now we're opening an office down there. Basically, this is me sponsoring me. How great is that, right? That we're working on the website for the San Antonio SEO Strategies. That'll be around here somewhere under there. So we're Louisville SEO Strategies. We are ready to help you with any of your digital marketing needs. Back to the show, okay? So look, it appears that they've only been open for about 2 years. They have a unique theme, bicycles. I don't know why. We'll find that out together. I don't know if you ride the bike there and start drinking, or if you start drinking and then ride the bike, if it's halfway in between. I'm not sure about that. We'll have to find that out. And also, Chris calls it a Gastro pub. I'm not sure what that is. We'll just have to find out together. All right, great. Here I am again on another beer adventure. I'm with the founder and genius, beer genius Chris with Breakaway Brewing in San Antonio, Texas. He's been kind enough to put up with me because I'm just a big nobody trying to be a somebody. He's helping me become that. We have a couple of very nice flights of beer. And what is this one, Chris?
That is Berm. That is my American lager that I actually add a little bit of caramel malt to for a little extra sweetness. So
because it doesn't look like a lager. Look at the color on that. Fantastic. Oh, it does have a little caramel to it.
Little caramel to it, just enough to go to little sweetness. Get it away from just a plain dark lager.
Traditional.
Yep.
So you're at Breakaway Brewing. The first thing I have to ask, I think it's probably on everybody's minds first, why the bicycle theme you have? Quite frankly, I would think that sounds dangerous. I mean, do you start 10 miles away right here for a beer? Do you start here, have beers, and ride away? It sounds shaky. I mean,
we have a little bit of both. I said when we give people a discount when they're on they start, stop, or come in during their ride, they get a 10% discount off. So we have a little bit of everything. We've got we work pretty closely with Chain Reaction. The San Antonio portion of Chain Reaction, and they are here every 6 weeks. They start their rides and then come back and have brunch and hang out and make a day of it. And we have several riders who do that. But when you open up a small business, the best thing to have is an identity. And so I've been in and out of amateur racing ever since college, and I was in the cycling industry, both at two different chains in Minnesota, and then I worked for Performance while I was in Portland. But I also worked at Trek Bicycle for a while. So it's just been part of my life.
Right.
And so I married two of my three hobbies. So I've got cycling and brewing. My other one's photography. Some of my photos from air shows will eventually make it into the brewery. Just haven't got there yet.
Right. Nice. I like that because then you're talking about marrying two loves of your life, and where it's still work. You're willing. It doesn't seem like such a burden to go to that work, because it's like, I love bikes, I love beer.
Yep.
And obviously there's the accounting and the bean counting and the hiring and firing, obviously aspect of everything.
Right.
But that makes it all seem a little more worthwhile, I suppose.
Yeah, it makes it a little more palatable. And then my wife and I are both foodies, so we make sure that our food menu is, is an elevated gastro pub, and not something that you're going to find at most, at a lot of breweries anyway. And that's actually kind of how we have decided on doing the layout and the furniture selection that we've done here. Is we actually want to kind of be an old world public house, so we're the neighborhood hub, if you will. That's why where we're sitting right now, we affectionately call it a living room. We have families come in, bring kids, strollers, whatever. We've got games for them. The TVs are going. We have games. We have football or basketball or whatever going on the weekends, and people just kind of come and hang out for a while.
Well, it also looks like an excellent place. I don't know, like a book club,
Absolutely.
You could have like a book club, meet here every, I don't know, Saturday, whatever. Tuesday evening, have 2 beers and talk about Oliver Wilde's,
Perfect. And
right,
we do the same thing. We do a lot of hail and farewells for the military. We're right across the street from Fort Sam, so we actually have several units that use this kind of as their off post. When they do something off post,
they kind of
they use us.
Their starting point or whatever.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you. I'm assuming you're a big fan of Breakaway the movie.
Absolutely.
So which one do you identify with? Are you the Dennis Quaid character, or are you? What was that other guy that he's kind of one word nickname? Goofus, Moofus, the Professor. Which one is? Which guy's that? Which one do you identify with?
I'm probably.
See, I got you. That's a question.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually haven't had to answer that one before. I'm probably a little more on the. I'm probably a little more on the Dennis Quaid character side than
Dennis Quaid, all right. As soon as I seen the name, well, actually, I found you guys. I went to the Brewsology Beer Fest, and that's how I find people that'll let me come and harass them. I get you when you've got a couple of beers in you and you're a little more pliable. Like, oh, hey, can I interview you? Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, here's my card. Yeah, all right, see, that's how it works for me. But the first when I first seen that, the first thing I thought about was that movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I thought, that's a unique kind of thing. And I assume too, are you a fan of someone like Michael Shermer, who is he was a long time competitive bike racer, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Skeptic magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Michael Shermer also.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, we so I had Mary Ann Martin come out for our grand opening last year, and she was the first American ever to win the Tour de France.
Oh, nice.
Male or female. Right. She predated Le Mans. So she was the first one to ever win. Mm-hmm. And we I just, like I said, I've been following cycling for a long time, so I'm more on the road side. I'm more the grand tours than I am mountain anymore. But I enjoy watching it, and we normally rotate through men's and women's races of all kinds on the TVs. If there's not a major sporting event going on. So that's Surly at midnight. That's my Cascadian Dark. So Cascadian Dark gave birth to the Black IPA. I'm not a huge fan of a black IPA because a lot of times brewers either put in too much of a black malt or a roasted malt for me, and it gets a little bit more on the ashy side and a little too astringent. So I actually reformulated mine, and so I use a slightly different grain that actually imparts a slight bit of chocolate and a slight bit of coffee in the background that allows the hops to kind of sing through a little bit. So this time of year in San Antonio.
It's got a nice kind of smell to it too.
Yeah. It satisfies everybody across the board. There's
kind of earthy.
First out, that type of thing.
I think it's kind of earthy.
It is very earthy.
Without I'm not saying it tastes like dirt or soil.
No.
It's just got an earthy kind of. Yeah, it's got an earthy kind of feel to it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So you're a fan of Michael Shermer. You're into that. That's kind of the past, how you got started. I'm assuming that the theme, is that kind of the part of the origin story? Is that how you kind of got started? I think you mentioned something earlier about getting into, and you had a relationship with the guys at Long Tab.
We didn't have a relationship early on, so I was going to be the head brewer at a small brew pub in Pennsylvania. And at that time, before we moved to Texas, and
because you lived in Pennsylvania for a while, so you must be a closet Steelers fan.
Sure, but we lived out on the West Coast in Portland. I cut my teeth brewing in Portland, but my dad grew up in the Bay Area, so I pretty much popped out a 49ers fan.
Right.
You're a
49ers fan.
I'm a 49ers fan.
Right.
But my
I won't hold that against you, I promise.
Hey, I don't have anything against the Steelers. They would be my AFC most likely team.
Yeah, there
right?
you go.
So,
okay, all right. I appreciate the tactful. Political
No.
yeah.
I mean, I went to games when we were at Heinz Field, so, when we were there. So that I don't have. But so my owner there, because I worked at a homebrew store to kind of pass the time a little bit, and he put me in charge of all the brewing stuff, and then he made me a job offer to take over and be the head brewer when it opened at the brew pub.
Oh, nice.
And my wife got a job offer literally the same day to come here, and so we took the offer to come here. But he sent emails to all of his distributors and vendors and said, "Hey, this guy's going to open. It's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when. Like, just kind of keep him on your radar." And so the vendor that he had for his brewing equipment, NFE, is actually who Long Tab uses. And so when I was talking to Helen, Helen said, "Hey, we actually do have somebody in San Antonio as the equipment if you want to see it in person." So that's actually how I initially met Mike from Long Tab. So there was no pre-existing. That was kind of I was walking in. It was more promotional for NFE.
Right.
But he was actually one of the first brewers that I met here.
Cool. But I mean, that just gave you an idea of what equipment you wanted to use and how you wanted to get
Well,
started.
and I actually ended up going a different direction. So my system's actually a little bit different than you're going to see at most places.
Yeah, I know you said something about, and I wanted to ask you this too. Like I think I said I've seen on your website, you've got like a Pacific Northwest style, and versus Long Tab, which I think you said was more traditional. Could you tell me what do you mean by Northwest style? What does that mean?
Well, it's not so much I have a Pacific Northwest style. I don't always adhere to the style guidelines, if you will, the norms.
Right.
I go a little left to center. For instance, like the first two beers that you had, like I added crystal malt to an American dark lager. That's not really typical, right? But I tend to make beers that I like to drink, and so I'll take a style and I will make it my own, if you will.
Right.
So sometimes that's one of the reasons why we haven't entered a lot of competitions and done anything, because it's really hard to put some of my beers
you don't have a section
into the
category
that really.
This is the traditional Hefeweizen. We don't have one of those.
We don't have a trick.
We don't have one of those, so we don't even get in. We don't want to play.
So there's a little bit. There's a little bit of that. So.
So I guess it'd be safe to say you come here, you're going to find something you like.
Yep.
And you may find something you've never had before.
Absolutely.
Something completely different.
Right. So, jumping ahead a couple, so for instance, this Cycle Oregon, I actually call it my Oregon Common. So instead of a traditional California Common, this is a common beer or steamed beer, if you will, base recipe. However,
I like that a lot.
We use grain based from the West Coast, and we use Pacific Northwest hops. And when I was in Portland, I had my water profile, so I used the water profile from my house in Portland. So because it comes out darker and hoppier than a traditional California Common, I call it an Oregon Common.
Right. See, that's my favorite so far. I like that a lot. It's not complex, but it is complex. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
It's kind of simple, but not really.
Yep. There's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot there going on.
Yeah, that's my favorite so far. That's really nice. That's a nice kind of subtle, kind of easy drinking.
Yep.
That's a good one. That's good. So we've kind of got how you got in. Is there anything else that you want to add about how you kind of got into the business? Was there some obstacle you overcame? Was it some story about, your bike had a flat? And you were going to be late, but you made it anyway.
No. I've been
That's
brewing.
Breaking Away, the movie.
It is. I've been brewing now for over 25 years, home brewing, and then recently professionally. My wife and I had always talked about doing something kind of as our retirement. So whether it was going to be a bed and breakfast, whether it was going to be a bar of some kind, what it was going to be. I mean, we'd always kind of had discussions. And I just, as we moved around, and certainly as we moved away from the West Coast, I wasn't getting the styles of beers or the actual beers that I liked, or I wasn't finding them at least right away. And so I took it upon myself. I'm like, okay, well, I just need to make my own version.
Yes, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And
I love that.
And so that's really how Kevin was born, and Super Domestique both. They were ones that I wasn't able to find. Super Domestique for sure. There's a brewery out of Oregon called Ninkasi.
This is the Super
Domestique. Yeah. So it is.
It's got some good color to it.
It is my double West Coast IPA. And that one is 8.4% and 120 IBUs.
Oh, wow.
And I
can see how that could sneak up on you.
Yeah. It goes down really smooth. It does not taste like an 8.4 at all.
That is, if I had to guess, I would have never said 8. I'd have 5 or 6, whatever.
Yeah.
But I bet this one sneaks up on people.
It can.
Like you drink 3 of them, and you go, oh, wait a minute.
I only actually serve that one in a 10-ounce glass. I don't actually serve that one as a full pint because it will sneak up on you. Yeah,
that's and it's not over the top. You can't tell that it's as 8% or higher. Like I would have never guessed.
Yeah, there's not. I really try to do a lot to control the alcohol burn to make sure it's not there. We actually
nice
literally 4 months after we were open, we won a ribbon at Bernie Beer Fest. The craft beer girls at Bernie chose Super Domestique as Ladies' Choice.
So that's the Super Oregon? Is that what you call it?
No, Super Domestique.
Super Domestique. I think that.
So a Domestique is.
This is what I'm afraid of. Everyone I try, I'm going to go, that's my new favorite.
Yep.
But that just happened just like I did that twice in a row.
Yep.
I'm afraid I'm going to get to the last one. This one's my new favorite.
Now, Kevin's going to give Super D a run for its money. But the Super Domestique is, all of our beer names are all cycling related in some way, shape, or form, with the exception of our, what we term as holiday or seasonal beers. Those we just kind of have fun with.
Right.
But all the rest of them
really good.
But I can
see there's a place in Louisville, it's called Acacia. It's kind of downtown. And they've got I can't remember the name of it. It's different than that, but it's an 8% kind of less hoppy IPA. And that's where the local brew club meets. So I'll go and hang out with them once a month or so. And I've had 3 of them and kind of suck them down a little too fast and go, oh man, I might have to call an Uber home. that hit me, and you don't realize it till you get up to go to the bathroom, and then that head rush hits you. Oh no!
Super D will do that.
I can see that one being the one that sneaks up on you right there. Wow.
So Kevin is our holiday IPA. And it's called Kevin from Home Alone. So that's
okay.
So that's our seasonal IPA.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's really good too, man.
And see, that one's only 7.1.
I think I like the Super D a little better though. I don't know if I'm trying to contradict myself and be that guy. I don't know if I psych myself out or not. I mean, I think maybe I psych myself out.
Well, they're 2 totally different beers. That's
completely different.
That's
a
holiday.
Still really
that's
good.
A holiday IPA, and this is an imperial. So they're 2 totally different beers.
I can't remember. This reminds me of. I always hate doing this because sometimes you do that.
Yep.
People hate that. I hate that beer. But it kind of reminds me that Sam Adams has a beer that's similar to this, but not quite. I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It made me think of that.
That's good.
Yeah, but that's really good. It is different, but similar. See, I'm contradicting myself again. I don't mean to do those things. That's really nice. Okay, we've kind of talked about the past. You've got all these great ideas. You've come up with meeting people in the business. You've moved here. You've got the place. And I love the atmosphere. and I see you're kind of into the getting locked into the San Antonio, like the culture of it everywhere. So you're present. You have some plans on growing? What do you think you're going next?
I mean, we're not even 2 years old yet.
Oh yeah.
So our 2-year anniversary is going to be February 1st.
Wow.
So we're not even 2 years in. I'm not in any rush to expand. We're probably at half capacity, 3/4 capacity right now.
Right.
And
well, I mean, looking at the place, it looks like you've been here a little longer, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I don't know what makes me think that, but for some reason it feels like you've been here a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it does.
Well, that's really kind of the way that we kind of built it, to be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more familiar.
Right.
We could have filled this whole area with tables and just had tables and chairs and whatever, and that's just not the vibe we were going for. And sometimes we could actually use those extra seats.
Right.
But the reality is we do have groups that just come over and just hang out, and that's really what we're
less than 2 years old. I love places like that, and I love supporting places like that. Because we need the variety, quite frankly,
right.
And you going away is not good. You being around is good,
right?
And I like the idea of like you've kind of went your own way about some of these things. Like nothing you have here that I've so far sampled is exactly what goes in that category that you would call it.
Yeah.
So that makes it interesting. On any kind of beer trail, you feel like you have to be added to that beer trail.
Right.
Yeah. And I guess your future right now, you haven't even really got to that because you're just now feeling like you're getting your legs underneath you.
Yeah. Well, we've got an apartment complex behind us. It's just about to open. There's 280 units in that, so that'll put some extra foot traffic here. We're doing. We've done several festivals already, so we'll probably pick up doing more festivals. I've recently brought in a new lead brewer. He and I are working really well together, collaboration-wise. Things are going great back there, so we're cranking out some really good beers.
Okay, which one should I try next, Chris?
Well, so the next three are all going to be...
that was almost kind of... not quite caramel.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of caramely to that.
There is.
The aftertaste is kind of... You don't really realize that till you kind of... Like your head decides to move to the next one. You there's that little... Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
So these next three...
This may now be my new favorites.
There you go.
Because that aftertaste is fantastic.
You've got three more new favorite candidates.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay.
All right. So these three are all going to be completely separate experiences and all completely different than here. So this is Ghost Spike. Ghost Spike is our Imperial Pumpkin Ale. And we aged it with oak and spiced and soaked the.
You can catch the spice right away.
Oak and spiced rum.
Almost like cinnamon.
There's a little cinnamon to it. There's a little pumpkin spice. There's fresh pumpkin.
That is completely different than anything else. It's really good. Yes.
And that's 7.9. And that
wow.
That
that's another one.
Back. Yeah.
That's another one that'll sneak up on you. Yeah. All right.
So this one is.
This one is the pink foam.
Yes.
Right.
That is called Lantern Rouge. And
Lantern Rouge. It sounds very French.
It is very French. It is actually the equivalent of Mr. Irrelevant, but for the Tour de France. Lantern Rouge came from the red lantern on the caboose of freight trains, and so the last rider to finish the Tour de France is the Lantern Rouge. So that is my raspberry hibiscus saison.
Wow.
So when I say I'm a little left of center,
I got to write that down. But say that again.
It's a raspberry hibiscus saison.
Raspberry hibiscus. Saison.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot going on there.
There is.
But
it's surprisingly smooth and not nearly as complicated as it sounds.
I'm not catching any of those things off the smell, quite frankly.
No,
but it's got a crazy looking cool color to it. And when you first poured it, it had a little pink.
Yeah, pink head.
Had the pink head on it.
get a little tart, you get a little dry.
Oh, there is a little. Yeah, it's got a dry finish to it.
Yeah, the hibiscus dries it out, and the raspberry. I
like the pumpkin one a little better, but this is not. I mean, none of them's obviously bad, but this is interesting. Somebody walking around on the ceiling?
Probably.
That is it's a dry at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't really have an idea about the future because you're just busy trying to keep
getting
things rolling. What is your direction?
We've got, several different beers and several styles that we wanna work on. My chef has done a fantastic job, and we've curated a fabulous food menu. We're actually one of the few breweries that's actually been invited to take part in Restaurant Week.
Nice.
And we've done the Titans of Tailgate and United Week Brunch that are more traditional for restaurants to participate in and not breweries.
Oh, that could be a big deal.
So we've got our food is every bit as good as the beer. So
we'll talk about that. I'm gonna put this over here. I'll ask you about because I want to know. I want a better description about what a gastro pub really is. I've seen it, I kind of get it, but I want to know what you think it is.
Sure.
But first, I want to ask you and ask everybody this. If you don't have one, that's fine. I think we already kind of touched on it, quite frankly. But what your beer philosophy is, if there is such a thing. I think we've kind of touched on it a lot here, so you may be repeating yourself.
Well, so I mean, for me, it's all about balance and moderation. I don't tend to do anything. Like, I don't do hoppy for hoppy's sake or fruity for fruity's sake. If I say there's raspberry and hibiscus in it, you're going to be able to taste both of them, but neither one of them are overpowering.
Right. Okay.
Right. And so, to me, it's about balance and about moderation.
Because there's a little bit of the raspberry just now. It takes a minute. It's a little slow on the uptake, but it's there.
Yeah.
But of course, that's me, not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean,
that's interesting.
But so a lot of people, like, IPAs are a classic example. Everybody comes in and goes, "Oh, I don't like IPAs." I'm like, the reason
there's
you don't
dozens of kind.
Well, right. But the reason you don't like IPAs is because the reality is that IPAs have evolved, and IPAs, when I was cutting my teeth, were between you had anywhere from a pale ale to a double was between 55 and 75 IBUs, and now a lot of West Coast start at 75 to 90. And that just that takes people's palate out of it, right?
Yeah.
All they're doing is they're tasting the hop. They're not tasting the caramel notes. They're not tasting the things that should be there from when I was doing it. Now, again, the Brewers Association definitions have changed, and I am lagging behind in evolving my IPAs because I like a little bit more malt background or a little bit of a malt backbone to my IPAs. So I tend to go that way. But,
so would you agree with when you say like you feel like your IPAs, as an example, and maybe your entire lineup, kind of has a reflects or is more attractive to a broader audience?
I think so because like Burn, for instance, right? Adding the sweetness to that's been a super popular beer. Right,
and they don't even necessarily understand what they're having.
And a dark lager is not something that normally flies off the shelf.
Right.
Right. And Cascadian Dark is more. It's what a lot of people deem a brewer's beer. Like, everybody wants to know, you make a Cascadian Dark, I want to try that. Yeah. Well, that's the only dark beer that I serve right now, and we're flying through it.
Really?
Right. So I mean, it's one of those things, right?
Frankly,
you try to hit the middle ground.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, like my like really dark beers, because in the past, whenever I've had, it's heavy.
Right.
And heavy is not like, I don't want to have a half a beer and feel bloated all of a sudden. Like, oh man, this is too much.
Yeah, and that's only 5.8.
Yeah, so that's I like the idea of the middle ground. That's interesting. And we got one more here. One more chance to be my true and real favorite.
So that is Fausto. That is my Italian Pilsner.
Ooh, Italian Pilsner. That sounds interesting. Am I gonna, after I drink this, will I be saying Lamborghini differently?
Maybe.
Lamborghini.
That's right.
Oh, that's a Lamborghini. Oh, that's subtle. It's got a little crisp to it. Like the aftertaste is, like the finish is kind of fast.
Yep.
Does that make any sense?
Yes. So it should be. So
that's a nice clean. This is for a hot day after a bicycle ride, I think.
Absolutely.
This is the one, I think. This is my favorite on a hot day after a bicycle ride. This would be the one I would want, I think. Because you're thirsty, you're tired. This would be perfect for that, I think. Yeah, that's a good one there. So do you think that kind of encompasses like your beer philosophy? I'm talking different already. Your beer philosophy. I mean, is there anything else you want to add to that?
I mean, the other thing that I always say is, from the moderation standpoint is, I don't think you should ever get a cavity from drinking a beer.
Oh, right.
So I'm not a big milkshake guy.
Right.
I'm not a big lactose guy. Like I use it, but I use it sparingly. I use it to lighten and brighten and that type of thing. But that's just me, right? I mean,
it's not
yeah. That's just me, right?
Yeah.
That's.
You gotta use that to kind of enhance it, but not as a.
But not overtake it, right? Again, it's about balance. It's all about.
I think some guys have done that before and used it almost as a crutch.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the lighter the beer, the harder it is to hide anything. It's just like coffee, right? A blonde coffee, if it's a good blonde coffee, they're a much better roaster than somebody who's got a super dark roast. Right.
Well, interesting.
Right, because the darker
harder to hide the imperfections.
Right.
Is that a good way to put it?
That's absolutely. The lighter the beer, the harder it is to. There's nowhere to hide, right? I mean, you can over hop something, you can dump fruit into it, you can sour something, and you can fix a whole bunch of problems. But you can't really do any of those on a Pilsner.
Wow, that's true.
Or on like I make one called the Texan, which is my Tex-Mex ale. Because I'm not a huge fan of Mexican lagers, so I make a style of which I will drink. And so what I do is I actually use, instead of a lager yeast, I use an ale yeast, and I ferment it a little bit higher, and it gives it a little bit more body. And I use a little corn for a little residual sweetness, and then I use some hops out of New Zealand to impart some lime in it. So there's no reason to actually need it to be dressed. You have everything that you need, but it actually has a fuller body than a traditional Mexican lager.
Some of those Mexican lagers are good, but a lot of them are like anything else. There's good and bad and everything else. I don't want to get into trashing anybody.
Yeah.
There's no reason to do that. All right, so that's pretty awesome. I like that you've got it. I feel like you've kind of actually thought that through without calling it beer philosophy.
Right.
You've never probably went, what is my beer philosophy? Right. But you have thought through where you're going. So it's obviously someone that's thoughtful. Now to get back to the Gastro pub. I've seen that word. I think I know what it means. What do you feel like it means? What are you trying to get to?
It's really just more of an elevated food or elevated feel. We do, for instance... Because
you're trying to make... I'm assuming you're trying to keep the food almost as important or as important as the beer.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of places, the beer is the thing. The beer is the star, which is fine. And they've got French fries and chicken tenders.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But
that's not our menu.
That's not your menu.
Like we do Asian sticky wings.
Oh, wow.
We do, our signature burger is the Grand Tour burger. And it is a short rib brisket sirloin patty with homemade bacon caramelized onion jam, smoked Gouda cheese with our arugula tossed in a roasted tomato vinaigrette on a brioche bun. So that's not just your normal hamburger.
No, it's not.
We don't do French fries. We do polenta fries.
Okay. All right.
We don't do plain potato chips. We do Diablo dusted potato chips that we serve with our gorgonzola dipping sauce. We do deep fried pepperoni chips.
So that's like nothing plain or exactly expected.
No. I mean, we do a Greek salad that you can add our house-made carnitas to.
Oh wow, yeah, that's unique.
So
you don't find that at
yeah.
You don't find that at your average kind of brewery. You walk in and they've got we've got cheeseburgers. Do you want bacon? It's an extra 25 cents, and it's just a burger on a bun. It's not a bad thing.
Right.
It's just that it's just a burger on a bun.
Right.
You know, that's interesting. So very rarely have I been to a place where the food is almost as important as the beer. And I feel like it's where you're going, because you just went through things like Asian sticky wings that I can't think of a place you can find that. Maybe some place like Gordon Biersch. Have you ever heard of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got a lot of locations. They're pretty good about their foods being pretty good. I interviewed one of them in Louisville. But anyway, I digress. So the Gastro Pub is more of a, should we call it an elevated?
It's elevated food. It's elevated pub food is really what a Gastro Pub is, right?
Elevated menu, elevated taste. That's close. Yeah, that's pretty close. Do you have anything that I'm almost done with the 2 flights? Feeling pretty good over here. I appreciate your patience and everything. Do you have anything coming up in the future? Oh, wait, I got a question. Do you have any small detail or some interesting beer fact that people might want to learn about? Mostly this is for me because I don't know everything about beer. I'm trying to learn something. So I'm being a little selfish.
No, I mean, we kind of talked earlier about the Cascadian Dark giving birth to the Black IPA style. Mm-hmm. I think beer is, if somebody says they don't like beer, they haven't found the right one.
I would agree with that 100%.
Right. I mean, I actually make, and we just don't have it right now because our tap number 3 is usually our fruited beer, so it rotates through a couple different beers. Mm-hmm. The other one that goes on in place of Lantern Rouge is one that we call Social Ride, which is a blackberry pilsner. Nice. And so there's not a lot of people that are putting fruit in the pilsner. Right, and that's just kind of one of those really popular ones that goes in really well. So I think it's, my big thing is, like with anything, there aren't hard and fast rules. Do what you make what you like to drink. Right?
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I wonder, like, I've talked to people at different areas, like the water's important. But I mean, I have bumped into people that, I want the IPA to be like what people think an IPA is going to be. Are you a franchise? Well, no. If you're not a franchise, then
I mean,
you're not McDonald's makes burgers the exact same way.
I mean, everything we do back there, we do purposely. Mm-hmm. We do strip the water down to 0. We've got an RO machine, and we do build it back up using the salts so that we get exactly the water profile that we get for every beer. Mm-hmm. And we've tried several different brands of malt, just like every other brewer has, and we've found our signature malt, right? And that may not be the signature for somebody else,
right?
Or our signature malt may not be used in this beer because the flavor is not what we want for this beer. Mm-hmm. So everything we do is purposeful, right? There's a reason for it. It's not just, we're going to do this today,
right?
Right.
Well, that's awesome. You've got a great lineup here. I think the last one I had was my favorite. It seems like how it always
that's just
out.
The way that worked, right?
That's how that worked, right? I didn't mean it to be that way, but all of a sudden I've got an Italian accent from that Italian Pilsner there. But you've been great. I know you've got kind of a hard out. You got to be out by 2:15 or whatever. So is there anything else, any story about your opening or anything that's happened that you would like to, something that kind of gives the place personality you'd like to add?
No, I mean, I think that we have become a good hub for the neighborhood and cycling, and I would just like to see that grow. I think that's we're not here. I'm not here trying to put 300 people in here to make some crazy amount of money. Right? If we get 50, 70
making money's not a bad thing, but
it's not a bad thing, but it's not the only thing, right?
The only goal.
The goal here is to kind of be the meeting place, kind of be active in the neighborhood and in the environment. We've partnered with a couple businesses around here. So Cakes by Felicia, they've been great to us. a coffee shop around the corner. You know, we've been talking off and on about doing a coffee stout together.
Nice.
Like we work with we sell craft sodas from a company called Slow Boogies that they're a nonprofit that is about kids education. So I've on purpose selected the products that we have to represent who we want to be, but also to be, again, not the normal thing that you're going to find everywhere.
Right. Unique, but a piece of the neighborhood. Well, I like that, man. It's a great place. I appreciate your time. And I don't know what else I could add. I think I just would be making it worse. I think we're going to cut it off right there. Man, Chris, I appreciate your time and effort. And thank you for your time. And say goodbye.
All right. Goodbye.
Oh, hey, thanks for playing. Just got back from an awesome trip, San Antonio to Breakaway Brewing. Chris was awesome. He's really trying to create like a unique place. I learned a few things. I know what a Gastro pub is now. And everything has got a little, he's trying to reach a broad audience, but he's also, like everything's a little different. So you find a lot of unique beers there. So if you're anywhere near San Antonio, you got to check out Breakaway Brewing. It's right there by Fort Sam Houston, pretty close to the heart of San Antonio, so it should be easy to find. They've only been around for a couple of years. I didn't get a chance to try any of the food, but it looks very interesting. I did get some swag. Got me a cool hat, right, and a shirt. So very cool, right? Excellent. And I did get to visit Long Tab. I haven't been able to get with them about setting up an interview, but it's a very cool place, very military oriented. They're all about veterans. At Breakaway, they've got a great, I think my favorite was the Italian Pilsner. I think that's the last one I tried, so just like me to like the last beer I drank. But anyway, they've got a lot of unique stuff. There's a Lantern Rouge that's got like raspberry and hibiscus, and of course they've got hazy IPAs and Kolsch's and a whole. They've got quite a number. They got a nice little setup there, and it's very unique if you're into bicycling. That's what Chris is in. So hey, if you get a chance, you got to go down there. Please remember to like and subscribe. Really helps a lot. Thanks for playing.